Thanks for joining us today with Aerial Views, and we're here with Simon Hocquard from CANSO, and we're going to take a look at the recent Airspace World event and what's up for the year ahead. So thanks for joining me, Simon.
You're very welcome. Good to be here.
So let's start with the event. What were the biggest lessons learned that you found out of the Airspace World event?
Okay, well, firstly, I suppose I want to say thank you, actually, to everybody that came to Airspace World to make it such a fantastic week for all of our exhibitors as well as CANSO. Now, as a global exhibition event for our industry, it was really exciting to see such a large hall filled with fantastic stands with thousands of people engaged in conversations and meetings everywhere I looked. Fabulous stuff. So I just wanted to mention that up front. Now, turning to your question, I have a number of highlights, actually, which I think are worth mentioning. One thing that struck me, having sat in on a few of the excellent sessions and actually is our wing theatre that I was sat in, is that the future, when we talk about the future's already here. And the ATM industry needs to move with probably greater pace and agility than it has done to date. A recent report on the megatrend suggests that electric air taxis, for example, will become the norm at major international airports. And the signs are there. Last year alone, I think $4.7 billion was invested in the development of eVTOLs, as an example. And these vehicles look set to become part of the ATM landscape sooner rather than later. But what's important now is the initial phases. We need to find a way to give these vehicles access to airspace, or our airspace. I think it was Shasta Reyes at our summit the day before Airspace World who quoted Amelia Earhart. She said, "The most effective way to do it is to do it." Now, it's a real simple statement, that, and I heard that loud and clear. We will only learn by doing it and proving that it's possible. So that's the first thing. Second one, digital towers. They really had a presence here, remote or otherwise. And whilst they've been around for a while now, I have many conversations with CEOs of different countries, all saying that they will now go ahead and implement and or accelerate the deployment of them. And I believe this is because the technology is looking good. Others are using it already, and it saves costs, which continues to be one of the drivers in our industry. Another one is sustainability. Now, this was understandably a big topic this time in our Boeing theatre, and it is, after all, the foundation of aviation's future. ANSPs, like our aviation partners, are committed to helping the industry to achieve net zero carbon emissions by 2050, but getting there means measuring progress every step of the way. And CANSO's Green ATM program, an independent accreditation scheme measuring ATM's progress, will be crucial. Every facet, I think, of ATM operations need to be scrutinized for potential environmental improvements, and that's one of the things I think that can help with that. It's all about data, and all ANSPs need to look at how to collect and utilize what is extremely valuable information. They will also need to decide whether to make this data available to partners and the wider travel industry. So that's another big subject that's going around. Finally, diversity. Diversity was another big topic and the subject of a great panel session actually on the opening day of Airspace World. I do believe that diversity is essential to delivering excellence and innovation in our industry. So that's a very long answer to a very simple question, but there's a lot of stuff going on.
No, that's a great answer. But then I want to ask you, as you think about all these things and how they come together between now and the end of 2023, are there some specific initiatives or pilots or things that you're already seeing coming into play to make these topics a reality?
Well, I mean, I think I probably mentioned we got the green ATM that I mentioned from a CANSO perspective. We've also got the CATS Global Council. Now, that's a complete air traffic system global council, which I have the honour of chairing. But actually, it's the whole of the industry. It's got over 70 members in the CATS Global Council. Across the entire aviation ecosystem. And what we've done is in that is over the last, and we're looking back very briefly, we developed a vision for 2045 from a leadership perspective. We agreed on a high level roadmap, And actually, the teams this year are delivering the work programs to actually deliver to that roadmap. So we talked about that at Airspace World. So that's a massive drive. That's a massive initiative for the benefit of the whole of aviation. That's going to be going ahead in 2023. So that was two examples.
That's great. Yep. My next question may be more aimed at Simon's point of view versus the industry's point of view. So looking around the conference, were there things that you found really exciting or just simply cool? What really excited you that you saw as you walked around the show floor?
Well, I can give you my view. I hope my view is an industry view, but nearly 175 exhibitors, 175. Actually, there was 175 exhibitors there. There was so much innovation on display. That for me, it's like being I can imagine some people being in a toy shop. It's all very, very cool. But all of our exhibitors actually offered something important to the industry. There was certainly a lot of activity around drones, the integration of UAVs into civil airspace, interestingly. Altitude Angel, to name one, had a great simulation tool that showed a drone flight from different perspectives, as an example. There's a company called Blue Nest. They were talking about vertiports, which is these small airports for eVTOLs, drones or emergency vehicles. Some of their designs are truly futuristic. Very cool. Skycraft, meanwhile, are launching satellites to improve the safety and efficiency of flights over oceanic or remote areas. And there were plenty of ANSPs and ATM providers showcasing some excellent solutions for day-to-day operations. And we like to talk about the future, but actually we must remember we've also got to worry about today. So I suppose if I was trying to capture, what was really exciting to me was the collective experience of the entire exhibition area. There was a focus on immediate gains and preparations for the future. Every innovation on offer improved safety, it improved efficiency or sustainability, and perhaps often actually all three. So, if I was going to give you one statement, it was the show gave me a great confidence in the future of our industry, which is a really good thing to say after the last few years where we've all been, it's all been very, very difficult.
I want to ask you a question about drones, since you were mentioning drones and how CANSO is playing a role on that coming together in the future. But I also want to share an observation with you first from the point of Air Traffic Management Magazine. So over the last year, we've started incorporating more topics related to UTM and UAM and drones into our publications. And I would get a lot of, why does ATM care about these topics? Why do you want to talk about these topics? They're different. And I would say just in the last month, I'm now seeing it's like the light switch turns on that everyone says, oh, you need to care about these topics because they can't stay segregated and they all have to come together. And maybe I've given you a good segue into your answer. I don't know what it'll be, but it is an interesting observation that I've found over and over again in conversations recently.
Okay. For me, it's super, say it's not super easy to do, but it's super easy to say. ATM absolutely needs to be interested in drones. And drones is a funny phrase, and I'll come back to that in a second. But also drones operators and service providers also need to be interested in ATM. Now, people that have heard me say it a few times, air traffic management has 100 years worth of experience, and it's learned a lot, and it's done a lot. It's aviation is still the safest way of travel globally, and there's been a lot of effort and continues to be a lot of effort put into being able to do that. Then we have the new people, new entrants, not so much new entrants anymore. They're here already, but the newer people, I like to call the lovely heritage airline airspace users. And then we've got the new users, and they think differently. They're challenging to the 100 years of stuff. Why do you do it this way? Why do you do it that way? And they're good questions to ask. And it's about making sure that those two groups of people, we combine together actually to come up with the right solution. And why do we need that? The reason why we need that is airspace is not infinite. Airspace, the globe has a finite piece of airspace, and historically there's only been a number of airspace users. Now that's exploding into a massive plethora of different numbers of airspace users, whether you're 2 inches off the ground or whether you're up in space or near space. So it's so varied at different speeds, different weights, different characteristics, and importantly, different services that are required for those vehicles. And that's why we all do. That's why the whole thing absolutely needs to be integrated and work together to make it safe and efficient and sustainable. All those things is absolutely key. And I mentioned the CATS Global Council. That's one of the main reasons actually that the whole of the industry wanted to create something that we could all align behind, all say this is what we think the future needs to look like. This is where we need to be heading, and all of the industry, whether you're an ANSP, whether you're a technology company, whether you're an AI company, whether you're a drone, whether you're a UTM provider, we all need to be focused in one direction. So everything we should be doing will be in service of this future. That's why the Global Council is so important. So we all need to play a role in keeping up that momentum and making sure that we are all working together. I think it's absolutely critically important that we do that. If we start to go all our separate ways, it will become very difficult, very expensive, and nearly impossible for everybody to have, to be able to fly in airspace, which, as I said before, unfortunately is not infinite.
Now, I just have one more question. So you've made it past the inaugural Airspace World, the hardest one, the first one. So what would you change for next year's show?
Well, now, whilst we have received a lot of positive comments about this year's event and an awful lot, the team, I'm amazed actually. I expected them to all take a break when Airspace World, this year's Airspace World was finished. They haven't. They're fully accelerating. They're working hard continually, and they're looking at actually what they've been doing for the last couple of weeks is looking at every single aspect of the event, from the venue to the theatre setup, logistics, content, floor plan, the app, catering, you name it, every single element. And they're looking at every single element to seek out ways for improvement in every single possible area. So I'm not going to give you the answer now, but I'm very confident that next year's event will be even better than this one.
That's great. I'm looking forward to going to it. And thank you so much for spending the time with me today. It was really great to speak with you.
You're very welcome. Thank you.